Hi friends, क्या cough syrups बच्चों के लिए dangerous हैं? Now this may seem like an odd question, but since the latest controversy in October 2022 about cough syrups causing deaths in children in Gambia, and these cough syrups were made in India, a lot of parents are very much concerned. So today I have with me my co-host Dr. Poonam Gupta, and she will be asking all the burning questions about this. Welcome to the show, Poonam.
Hi Gaurav, it's great to be back.
So, what do you have for us today?
It was very disturbing. Everybody was discussing this news of kids dying and the numbers increasing every day just by taking a normal cough syrup. Right? हम लोग normally देते ही हैं बच्चों को cough syrup, खांसी जुकाम हुआ, allergy हुआ, infection हुआ. And then I went back and I read online. Apparently, this is not the first time. It has happened before also. So, what actually happened? How can a simple cough syrup, I remember हम भी लेते थे, अपने बच्चों को भी देते हैं. How can a simple cough syrup lead to so much mortality?
Great question. And I must start by saying that it's really tragic when something which is supposed to help treat a child causes complications. And in this case, we had 66 or more children dying in an African country due to a cough syrup which was made by somebody in Haryana in India. So that is what actually happened. And why it happened, as correctly told by you, this is not the first time it has happened. This is basically because of the unethical practices of trying to make more money. Now there are good ways to make money, there are bad ways to make money, and this is, I think, one of the worst ways to try and make some profit. So normally, जो cough syrups हैं, उनको हम बनाने के लिए we dissolve them all the chemicals in a particular solvent, and
Okay.
normally what we use is either glycerin or something called propylene glycol. Now, in this situation, what has happened is because these solvents are expensive, so some unethical person, some unscrupulous person, they actually used something called diethylene glycol or ethylene glycol. Now, these
Okay.
are actually chemicals which are used in industry. So, your brake fluid, your antifreeze in various factories, उसमें ये
Hmm.
chemicals डलते हैं. But unfortunately, in this situation, what they did was they put them into the cuff mixture. इससे अच्छे से वो dissolve तो हो गया, but it caused a lot of problems.
Actually, sad part is all these kids were not really sick on the verge of dying. मतलब नॉर्मल ओपीडी वाले बच्चे, खांसी जुकाम वाले बच्चे जिनको आप कफ सिरप प्रिस्क्राइब करते हो, तो दैट इज मोर ट्रेजिक. अगर कोई बच्चा आईसीयू में एडमिट है, उसके हेड इंजरी हो गई, किसी का भी कुछ हो गया, उसमें दिस चाइल्ड माइट सर्वाइव और नॉट. बट किड्स डाइंग इन simple OPD practice, every day the number increasing is very, very sad. But
Very.
then the question comes ki how can these medicines be exported without getting tested? I'm sure there must be some authority either in our country or the country which is receiving these medicines. कहीं तो कुछ regulatory bodies होंगी.
बिल्कुल. So before that, just what happened with these kids was कि ये जो डायथिलीन ग्लाइकॉल है, एथिलीन ग्लाइकॉल है, इसकी वजह से उनकी किडनीज फेल हो गई और इसकी वजह से उनके ब्रेन के अंदर जो ब्रेन था, that also got into a lot of neurological problems. So they had, seizures, and they went into coma, and their urine stopped happening. And of course, as you correctly said, normal खांसी जुकाम वाले बच्चे जो कि हॉस्पिटल में एडमिटेड भी नहीं थे, they took the medicine from the government. So actually,
Right.
the government of Gambia, they purchased these things, chemicals, and उन्होंने mix करे उनको कॉफ की मेडिसिन बनाई और जो गरीब बच्चे हैं उनके अंदर बांटी. And all these kids who were from poor socioeconomic status, who took the free medicines, they got into trouble. And even to diagnose this was very, very difficult, because a lot of these kids were coming from places जहाँ पे already उनको खांसी जुकाम था, they were malnourished, they had vitamin deficiencies. So one or two kids dying, well, people think it's probably they're malnourished. But when they
Right.
had so many kids dying, then they started researching it. And when they researched it, then they found that this was the issue. और ये भी इसलिए पता चला because, as you correctly said, this has happened before. This is not the
Yeah.
first time, and unfortunately, it's probably not going to be the last time. So
I
this,
hope it is the last time. I hope.
Yeah. So coming to the question which you asked, ki why? What are the safeguards that we have in this? Well, uh, every company which manufactures these kind of cough syrups, they are supposed to test this raw material. तो पहले तो जो कंपनी है, this particular case में there was something called Maiden Pharmaceuticals in
Hmm.
Sonipat, Haryana. So
Right.
they are supposed to test जो उनके पास चीज है, whether this is actually glycerin or whether this is something else. Now,
Okay.
once they have tested it, and they have got a license for export, तो export करने से पहले भी जो regulatory authorities हैं, they are supposed to test this particular molecule. And finally, जो गैम्बिया में authorities हैं, जहां पे ये ड्रग आई है अफ्रीका के अंदर, they are also supposed to do this testing. And of course, WHO ने ड्रग सप्लाई करवाई है, तो वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन is also supposed to do the testing. तो इतने सारे लोगों को टेस्टिंग करनी चाहिए, but the truth is
किसी
nobody
ने
did.
भी नहीं किया. Nobody did it. That's very very sad. I mean, it's now we can't say कि सिर्फ हमारी कंट्री में overlook किया गया है. Every step it was overlooked.
Yes, and yeah, I mean, you'll be shocked to know that this is not the first time it has happened in India, and this is not the first time it has happened in the world. We have had reports from places like Panama, जहाँ पे China से medicine supply की गई थी, and they
Okay.
claim that thousands of kids died there. They don't even know the real number. They feel
Oh
कि
my
maybe it was 10,000 people, adults की भी death हुई उसकी वजह से, and it was such a big scam which damaged the reputation of China. And this particular episode can actually damage the reputation of Indian pharma manufacturer. हमारी इतनी अच्छी reputation बन गई है because of the COVID vaccines, the COVID
right.
medicines, HIV medicines that we are supplying across the world. But this can lead to a lot of negative publicity, which is best avoided.
I was, under the impression that the medicines which we export, the laws for them are very, very strict, and they have to undergo a lot of testing and paperwork and everything, and they have to give all the reports. I didn't know that at every step this could have been overlooked. Maybe because the medicine went to Gambia. Maybe if this medicine had gone to some, advanced world countries, they would have been diligent to test it. I don't know.
Yeah, so to some extent you're right, but this particular company actually पहले कम से कम 3-4 बार इनके खिलाफ they have been flagged. They have had problems with their quality control even previously. Ideally, even the Indian authorities should have taken proper action against these people, not just जो बाहर के authorities है
You know that
WHO.
that brings the question to mind, कि हम किस brand की medicine खरीदें. So because being doctors, both of us know the laws which have been laid down to test all the medicines and for uh, building up a pharmaceutical company and manufacturing and all that. Hardly any laws are followed in India, right? So I mean, I don't know. I want to share this. Previously, it was the impression is that some doctors, yeah, doctors love to write expensive medicines with who have international brands, right? And not the because the same medicine is being manufactured locally. They don't write that, and this unfortunately this belief has been strengthened by various pharmacies also. So this is where the crux lies in international MNCs, at least most of the protocols would be followed. I'll be more comfortable writing that medicine, knowing कि भैया at least कुछ negative तो नहीं होएगा, positive चाहे कम हो जाए.
Right. So basically, what you're saying is that writing more expensive medicines by doctors is primarily because we want to ensure good quality medicines, which we are not very sure because hundreds and thousands of normal जो आपकी pharmacies,
Exactly.
pharmaceutical manufacturers हैं, they may not be making it to the same quality. Is that what you're saying?
It's not only about expensive, it's basically about a reputed brand, an MNC.
Yeah.
Basically, it is that.
Absolutely. So MNC medicines are generally more expensive, but absolutely the reason for writing them is probably better quality. And the point about exporting to developed countries is that वहां पे खुद भी वो लोग टेस्ट करते हैं. Unfortunately, in the developing countries, they don't have a very strict testing body. So
Exactly.
ideally, जो भी medicine आपके पास आती है बाहर से, आपको खुद भी टेस्ट करनी चाहिए. So in India, for example, when we get vaccines from abroad for supply to Indian children, अगर vaccines की बात करें, they have to, all of them have to go to Kasoli for testing before they can be distributed. So we need these kind of testing mechanisms in all countries, not just the developed countries, to make sure these kind of tragedies don't happen.
Exactly. So now what? I mean, like cough syrups are the routine for kids who fall ill, for their chest, for their nose, for colds, for cough. So अब क्या होगा? Now the parents are scared. So how? So what do you want to tell the parents? Are the
Okay, so
cough syrups safe?
yeah, so two things. One, if we are only talking about this particular controversy, the Gambia, Africa cough syrup controversy, this particular batch of medicines, this particular company was not licensed to supply medicines in India. तो अगर हम इस कंपनी की बात करते हैं, this batch of medicines, this is not being sold in India. So don't have to worry about this. Now, second part, absolutely right, correctly pointed out by you that cough syrups are a mainstay of treatment in children, but we must remember that cough syrups should be avoided in children less than 2 years. These are
Okay.
not recommended, and सारी developed countries में आप कहीं भी जाएंगे, Australia, US, England, etc., they do not use any cough syrups in children who are less than 2 years of age because they can have more side effects and the benefit is very very minimum. I would say जो हमारे घरेलू नुस्खे हैं, if a child is above 6 months or 1 year, तो उसको थोड़ा शहद देना या those kind of things, warm water देना,
Exactly.
तुलसी का
Talk
पानी,
to
those kind of things.
me and ajwain ki steam, all these
Again,
things.
yes. Steam again, little iffy, but that's probably a different topic. But certainly, घरेलू नुस्खे are what I would recommend. Saline drops in the nose is wonderful. Paracetamol बच्चे को comfortable रखने के लिए. So all of these should be the first line, especially in children who are less than 2 years of age. We don't need to worry about cough syrups in older children as long as your doctor has been in the picture and they tell you what kind of cough syrups to
Exactly.
use.
So interestingly, this company was not allowed to sell medicines in India, but they could export.
So it's not that they were not allowed; they never took license to sell the medicine in
Oh,
India. So they were never stopped, but they had issues already. At least 3 or 4 they had failed some quality checks. I think the problem in India is that anyone can very easily set up a pharma company. It's not very difficult. आप और मैं भी चाहें, we can easily set up a pharma company. It doesn't require a lot of funding. And
exactly.
initial licensing में तो एक बार फिर भी check होगा. But after that, there is hardly any check. अगर हम हरियाणा का ही देखें, the entire state of Haryana has got 10 drug inspectors. Can you imagine the number of companies they have in
I
Haryana for
know.
making pharma products? 10 drug inspectors कैसे check कर सकते हैं? You are setting yourself up to fail if you don't have strong regulatory control.
I think this is the basic which should be looked into. Basics, the drug control should be really, really good, so that
Absolutely.
these kind of events don't happen again.
Absolutely. And last but not the least, abhi tak bhi, this incident happened a week back, 10 days back. We didn't really make a video because I was hoping कि हमारी final report आ जाएगी India से. But even as of today, India वालों ने after 7-10 days also they have not been able to confirm कि ये जो cough syrup है, इसमें actually जो ये contaminant डाला है, diethylene glycol या ethylene glycol, ये कितना है भी कि नहीं है. So the reporting from our labs is also so slow for an emergency situation. All of
Right,
this means that we need to invest heavily into the infrastructure for drugs.
right, absolutely right. Infrastructure for drugs, and second, I don't know, unrelated to this, the over-the-counter pharmacies, they hand out all the drugs which are not supposed to be given. That should also be stopped.
Over the counter pharmacies, antibiotics, especially, they should not be used
Right.
by parents and by doctors also. We should avoid them. And so all
At
of those
least
things are
doctors, if they're prescribing it, is okay. Without prescription, you're handing over antibiotics, steroids, and nerve medicine and neurological medicines and all that. It can be dangerous.
absolutely. So that probably is a topic for the
Different
next
topic.
session. Thanks a
Right.
lot, Poonam. It was really, really wonderful. And we had a very nice, insightful discussion.
Thank you, Gaurav. It was great being back. Bye bye.